Episode 230 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded April 10th, 2019. Beers, bras, and bullshit. Beats, Bears, and Battlestar Galactica.
You know, the shows we're covering this week could also almost all be in alphabetical order because we had Abby's.
Oh, yeah?
And then Barry.
Oh.
And then
Billions.
And then you go all the way there in alphabet, it's Veep.
Yeah.
But we did have another alternate title for this episode.
Which was?
It had something to do with dentists.
It did. It was, hey, what time is your dentist appointment?
It's like 4:45.
No, it's Tooth Hurty? Because we're episode 230. This is our 230th episode. Yeah.
You know what? Because of a re-recording mishap, I've heard that joke 3 times now, and it's still gold.
Still slays. Yes.
It still slays.
And I deserve a fucking medal for letting you get that in 3 times.
Randy didn't even want us to do it the first time. And now we're committed to making sure that this is on record.
Oh, great. Guys, we are the TV Dudes, and we have a full house this time. We're all back, all 4 of us, and I'm Grant.
I'm Randy.
Kyle.
Les.
And we are the TV Dudes. And this week we're going to be talking about Abby's, Veep, Barry, and Billions.
In that order, not alphabetical order.
Not alphabetical order. I guess it could be that order.
It could be.
I hadn't actually committed to the order.
We're going to start with comedies.
Okay.
And we're going to segue into what we decided Billions is a melodrama or a light drama or...
It's definitely not melodrama. I didn't know what that word meant. But it's like, kind of like not drama-ish. There we go. It's drama-ish.
It's
Serial comic?
It's a Showtime drama. That's what it is.
Oh, yes.
Because they do billions of these. They did Weeds was this. I mean, Weeds was sort of comedy, but it's also drama.
Yeah,
There's Jackie. This is their vibe.
It's a Showtime drama. Okay, nice.
Anyway, we're just kind of treading water until next week when we have our dun 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 meow meow Game of Thrones.
Yep. And Les is going to catch up on all of it.
I am. I'm going to start watching it right. No.
Seriously, what's going on here, Les?
Clockwork Orange style. We just put you in the chair.
Les is our resident watch every single season of every TV show, every obscure TV show possible TV critic here, and you don't watch Game of Thrones. I read this. There was this Time article or New York Times. I don't remember who it was, but they had like the top 10, 20 or top 20 best dramas since the aughts, and the one glaring omission was Game of Thrones. It wasn't on there. They put some like.
Did Les write that article?
They put like Rubicon on there or some
No, but
shit.
I feel like kindred spirit. I mean, it's not that I don't think it should make the list. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've tried to watch the
You
first
watched
few.
the first couple episodes, and it's all Ren Fair, and I understand you're not liking it.
It's rough.
You're going to be the guy who, at the very end, you're going to hear everybody be like, "Oh, they fucked it up. They worst ending ever. It's awful." And you go, "All right, I'm going to watch them all but that one."
I honestly, if enough people hate the ending of the show, I will probably go back and give it a harder look, because honestly, like, fandom is so consistently bad about things like this that, like, if all of nerddom across the planet like screams out in unison that Rian Johnson is like a complete dickbag, I'm immediately going to go watch a Star Wars film for the first time in years.
Damon Lindelof is a genius, so don't listen to the haters.
I tend to throw like renewed interest behind stuff that's just generally reviled.
All right, I have a plan to go on Reddit and get them all to pretend they hated the ending.
So
just
if Rotten
to get less
Tomatoes,
to watch.
I gotta say, like, I was already planning on seeing the new Hellboy on Monday, and I am doubling down now because Rotten Tomatoes made that weird ad bragging about its poor reviews.
Oh man, okay, good, because I want to hear if it's terrible.
Speaking of Reddit, Randy,
Yep.
and before we get into our main discussion here, folks, on Reddit / Game of Thrones, there's this big poll that's going out just because of the final season of Game of Thrones. And I was going to pull you and Kyle, see what you guys think here.
Okay.
It is picking who you think will ultimately win the Game of Thrones. Who would you pick among these people? Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, Tyrion Lannister, Jaime Lannister, Cersei Lannister, Arya Stark, or Sansa Stark? Who would you pick? Who is your final person for the throne? And we can discuss this again next week if you want. But
I believe it's going to be Jon Snow and Daenerys together. That's my thinking. With Tyrion as their advisor.
Oh, can I? I'm gonna double down.
Yeah.
I believe it is going to be Jon Snow and Daenerys' baby after they're brutally killed, and then Brenna Tarth is going to have to like keep the baby alive, and then the baby's going to get like Joffrey age, and then he's going to rule everything.
Do you think baby's going to have time crystals and he's going to grow up and be an adult?
Time crystals right up his ass.
he's going to be a mess of legs. But
no,
he's inbred. Wasn't that the line from Veep this week?
Oh God!
It's just like I'm not actually related to her. It's not like we're going to have a mess of legs born. Something like that.
She should be giving my cousin a hard time. He blasted her.
Yeah. Jonah Ryan will gain the Game of Thrones. Will win the throne.
Oh man. Yeah, we're gonna have to revisit this when we talk about that next week's episode. Stay tuned, folks, because we're super excited about that.
Yes.
But let's go ahead and jump into it. And the first show we're going to discuss is Abby's over on NBC. Now, this was kind of hyped up as it's Natalie Morales leading a multicam sitcom that's filmed in front of a live studio audience outdoors in a backyard bar that she runs in this neighborhood. And I guess this is what's his name?
Mike Schur.
Mike Schur was involved in development.
He's producing,
Yeah.
but this
Yeah. It's not his show.
from what I saw of the actual show, I don't feel like he has as heavy a hand in the production.
It feels more classic sitcom than like his really out there affair like Good Place or something like that.
Before we get too much into the weeds on this, do you think it'd be funnier if you were in that audience? Do you think this
am
type of
super
stuff
jealous of that
plays
studio
better?
audience.
Yeah, do you think that because these jokes get like huge thunderous applause, and whether you think the joke's
I think
funny
they're
or
padded.
I think they're padded.
Oh, yeah?
For sure.
Like nobody laughs that consistently. I don't really understand how laugh tracks possibly work, but I feel like they've got to be padding that.
They
a little.
are.
Yeah.
Totally.
This guy, by the way, was a story editor and staff writer on New Girl for a long time,
yeah.
and then worked on Superstore. That's the guy who created Abby's.
Which is like a good cred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the second episode more than the first. Pilot's always a little weird, but
Sure.
I'm looking forward to watching more of it. I like Natalie Morales in pretty much everything because I'm
Do you? Middleman? Yeah.
But I also am a sucker for, and we're going to forget about the middle entirely, but janitor from Scrubs.
Neil Flynn.
Neil Flynn. I really like him as the cantankerous neighbor. This feels like a better version of Undateable to me.
Yeah, I can see that. And also, I like Nelson Franklin playing Bill. I like that dude.
Yes.
I like everybody in this cast. I do not like this show.
Well, you don't like multicam sitcoms.
I don't.
They're just like me.
That was my next question. What is an example of one of these in like modern times that's good?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I could make lots of examples, but that's
Let's see.
good.
Was
Isn't One Day at
One
a
Day at a
Time
Time.
always brought up as like the? But I don't watch it.
I don't either.
Everyone
on
raves
its
about
own now. Netflix has canceled it.
Yeah,
now.
no one watches it now.
it. Yeah.
But I mean, there are still like 2.5 minutes, not 2.5 minutes on anymore, but
Big Bang Theory.
is still that's a multicam still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
Nope.
No, but Mike and Molly, there are still multicam sitcoms that we don't deem ourselves to go watch.
Yeah.
But like a huge swath of realer America than we are watches
Yeah.
the shit out of multicam
Yeah,
sitcoms. I think.
I mean, I
that's my
can't-
understanding.
I can't decide whether I want this to succeed so that Natalie Morales and Neil Flynn and those guys get a steady paycheck, or I'd rather it fails so they can go on and do something else because I like everybody in this, and I feel like none of them are really being served by the jokes.
You know what I wonder? What would it make for it to succeed? Like I'm trying to.
better writing. The premise is great.
It's
the
got to get
premise is
faster.
solid. Yeah.
Like it's got to get faster. And to me, taking out the time for the padding of the jokes to remind me to laugh lets you clip along quicker.
Yeah.
But I need a Brooklyn Nine-Nine pace, and you can't do all in the like you can't pace it like you
Yeah,
used to.
you're right. That is the key.
All these actors have the talent here. They have the chemistry with each other, which is pretty interesting. Just like right off the bat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the format's an old dead format. I feel it's condescending.
Yeah.
To have an audience cue me when to laugh, and it really just always breaks me out of the spirit of the story when everyone has to like kind of stop and like smile at each other about what was said while laughter's or clapping's going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like if the laughter's removed, it's always awkward.
Yeah.
What's going on in that scene is it's unnatural.
What's funny is I can go back to shows that I like. Like I still love Cheers, and I can still watch it and still love it and still think it's genius. I don't know if that's all nostalgia or if it's just that
Cheers
it worked
was
better.
like really great
No,
writing though.
But I think also you slip back into like it's like going back and watching an old 50s movie or 60s movie
Yeah.
or sitting down to watch something you know is subtitled. Like I think you do a little bit of prep in your head
Your brain adjusts the speed.
to what you're about
Yeah.
to watch. Because like I finished watching Abby's and I went back and watched some pilots of like I went back a little bit to Wings and I went back way further to like Taxi and watched the pilots of some of these older sitcoms. And the pacing is completely freaking different
Yeah.
than any show we watch today. And I really do feel like it's a speed of the jokes. Like,
Yeah.
just go faster with the...
Yeah.
You know, would you guys consider IT Crowd to be a modern show? Because that's technically live studio audience.
It's true, but it's British, and it gets a different little dispensation for that.
Yeah, probably true.
I just wish that... I feel like they are padding the track. I wish they'd take it out and leave the live studio audience.
Yeah.
I will say I have not been actually, like, jealous of a studio audience in, I don't know, ever. But every time they come back from commercial... and they pan the camera, like for just a second, you see behind the risers of all these people in a pretty sweet backyard.
Yeah. Oh, the
Yeah.
set's
And I'm
amazing.
like, okay, that actually looks like a fun set to get on.
Yeah.
and get to watch them shoot this.
That
like,
is the one thing I really want to give them credit for. Like the set looks amazing. Like it's a really good
And
set.
then once they're in it, I don't notice what I know are people in the background.
Right. It feels like, we're in somebody's backyard.
Yeah.
They do a good job of immersing. It's not funny. That's
But-
really the cardinal sin.
Take away the laugh track, take away the studio audience, film this like any other Mike Schur kind of project, a one camera like comedy like this. And I like the premise. I like this idea of someone setting up a neighborhood bar where these other kind of neighborhood suburbanite barflies just kind of flock to. There's sort of this caste system of kind of getting closer to this family, and there's a little bit of I guess damage in Abby, and why she's driven to do this and why she's such a control freak about it.
Every time Neil Flynn's character calls her Sarge, I'm reminded, there's a thing here where he respects her on a different level than she
And
even
she
respects
desperately
herself.
wants him to stop saying it.
Yeah, and she doesn't want that, and I think that's really interesting.
I like the arcane rule in the second episode. I think it's kind of like the fact challenge in the first episode, but they get way more into that. And there ends up. I like the arcane rule set. I like her hard assness and Bill's pushing back. I really the laugh track's just weird. It throws me back to expecting an older show.
Well, also, I don't think it's just a laugh track. I do think the writing is weak, which is kind of unfortunate because the jokes should be better. The jokes should be not just faster, but better. Like I don't laugh at this even without the cues.
Yeah, the barfly that doesn't like her kids.
Yeah,
I find her actually the most interesting though.
But
I
her
did think the
jokes
thing
are-
about her sitting so she can see in her kid's window. I was like,
I like
okay,
all that,
that's
but
cute.
like a lot of her jabs against her kids feel like a watered down Roseanne bit from.
it
or
feels dated. Yeah,
it's the only one that seems kind of edgy and sad and like
Yeah.
But
like
it just seems edgy. Like it doesn't
not
go to the
actually
edge
edgy.
for me.
Yeah,
I think that you can't help but compare this show to Cheers, which
Right,
it's
yeah.
sure.
heavily emulating, right?
Yeah, for sure.
and Cheers had a lot of people that were damaged in their
Oh,
bar.
yeah.
Norm
and
was not cool with his home life. man.
no, he's a mess. The other thing is,
I'm like, if these guys are like kind of drunks who are hiding out here,
Mm-hmm.
she is the first like point of interest for me where I'm like, okay, she's openly admitting that she's a little bit of a fuck up of a mom.
yeah,
Where she improves for me is like in the second episode, they give her a bit where Abby needs her to vote her way on a rule change and threatens her with, well, cool, I'll just take Chablis off of the 2 for Tuesday.
yeah.
And you just see like, fine, do it. And then she caves immediately like, no, I'm sorry, I need it.
I need my shard.
Like, I need that. I need 2 of them.
I also the arcane rules that we're talking about. I feel like that is the section that they need to deep dive into.
Yes.
The notion of friends having private jokes and that kind of thing. That's what could make. Do you guys remember the $5 bets on Ed? That show Ed
Yes.
from NBC. Like that was maybe one of the best things about that
Yes.
show was them. I'll bet you $5 this. The notion of the dumb things you do with your friends to amuse yourself. That's the heart of what Abby should be about. And if you mix that with the damage of the people who are there and how they're sort of this fucked up family, you'd really have something. I just feel like they're not getting there. I don't know if they're gonna.
What I'm also curious about when I think of this show is like, what are the legs of this? Where does it go beyond the backyard? Can it really just survive with these people's lives, these kind of like suburban lives in this backyard.
You know, I feel like there was a little hint in some of the dialogue where who's the janitor in Scrubs?
Neil Flynn.
Neil Flynn.
He says, you can't close down because at $3 a beer, I've budgeted out this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there is something, I think, there with the fact that bars are really expensive. Like, people don't hang out in bars like they did in Cheers.
That's true.
Because you can't afford it.
No.
So it's like the idea that one of these would pop up, and if it did exist, that the people would kind of cling to it in
Like post up there, yeah.
yeah, like I'm like, no, that's
I'll
something I
fight
would
you
do.
for
You
this.
could
Yeah.
make this realistic.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, this is another thing that Abby's could have done that I don't think it quite achieves is if you can feel like you're going into a virtual bar where you're hanging out with your friends, like that's what Cheers did. That's to some extent what Friends did with the coffee house. Like if it can make a place where you feel like you are seeing that place, then that's why you can go on for season upon season.
I don't think Cheers would survive in the modern day.
I think you're probably right.
I don't think it'd
you're
make it
probably
through
right.
its first season.
It would need to have a
It would need
grander
to be,
vision of a story arc.
Yeah, I think
It's
you're
always
right.
sunny.
Well, maybe
Cheers
It's
for
Always
the modern
Sunny,
age.
or at least venture out of there a bit more frequently. Like have the problems, have something we're rooting for beyond like, oh, you have a bar and you guys are going to kind of fix it up a little bit, make it a little bit more regulated.
They would have to really chase Sam's sort of alcoholism and whether or not he was going to go back to it, and that would have to be one of the sort of running threads. I also think it's interesting to note that Cheers almost didn't survive its first season. Like it was not, if maybe dead last or really close to it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't know. Something to kind of keep an eye on the side, but I think that unless they pull like Sports Night and drop the laugh track, I'm not going to be really interested.
Yeah,
Right. I forgot about that.
I'm disappointed because I had high hopes for the show, and I mean, as you can tell from the way we talked about it, I think we all wanted to like it.
I'm liking it more than y'all, but I have a crush on Natalie Morales.
Yeah, that's different.
But I wanted to love it, like knock it out of the park from the start, love it. And now I'm just hoping that it gets the time to. I mean, I hated Parks and Rec season 1.
Parks and Rec season 1 was bad. Office season 1 was bad.
So I'm hoping that this gets the time. Like Undateable went through a few incarnated before it kind of ended up, and it never fully hit on all cylinders. And I'm hoping that this at least gets the time to try some of that, because I would love to see, like, stories of Springfield. Like I want to see stories of people coming from the random chairs up to their bar. Like I want to see somebody's path from
someone
like,
make it
outskirts
and
of
then
the yard.
flame out or something.
Yeah.
Like we don't talk about George anymore. Like I want to see somebody like watch their whole arc and then them ask about the bar nuts and like lose their spot.
Or have like crazy community like episodes, like their version of the paintball episode.
But to me, that's the pace I need from this. Like I need a community zany pace from this.
I agree.
And to do that, I feel like you got to drop the laugh track and put a joke in everywhere you would have put a pad.
Well, let's jump to a different show that has no problem padding out and making jokes dense. Not padding out, I guess. Opposite of
The
that.
reverse of that. Packing in.
Packing in. Veep.
Season 7, final season.
Final season.
I'd forgotten how much I love this show. And when I watched the recap, I'm like, I don't remember a ton of what happened in season 6, but they hit the ground running with this one.
Season 6 was all about her getting her library.
Yeah.
And she couldn't do it.
And I watched it, but I didn't remember some of the recap moments, and I think I wasn't quite as into it. But this season, man, they come back, and Selena is as dumb and as mean as I've ever seen her.
Not necessarily dumb, just so self-absorbed and
she's dumb.
awful.
She's dumb, and I mean, there's some Trump in there. There's some self-absorption to a level of, wow, you're not quite seeing how people are.
Well, they're all extreme narcissists.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe someone said, like, if you want one of the shows that's, like, the closest to actual modern politics, Veep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because everyone is just jockeying for power, and they're all into themselves and, like, so unaware of what else is going on just because they're focused on their own self-image.
There's a running joke about school shootings and how she's worried about that they're going to affect her.
Yeah.
It's so messed up.
And then at the last minute, she capitalizes on the school shooting.
Yeah. This show is darker than I'd remembered, And I love it. I love how much I hate every one of these characters, and like in real life, I would not want to be around any of them. But they're so much fun to watch.
But it almost seems like the writing is just like daring us to like just keep going because they just keep upping the ante, especially with Jonah. Like every
Jonah.
word that comes out of his mouth makes his character sleazier and sleazier.
Make your skin crawl.
Jonah's the worst.
And the actor in real life is like such a nice.
Oh, have you heard him talk about this?
Yeah.
He's like, I like being on the show and the writers are great, but sometimes I'll be sitting there and they'll look at me and then they'll run off and then they'll come back and they'll go, hey, we're going to change this dialogue. They're going to say, hey, you faggy piece of Play-Doh, or you look like Play-Doh thrown on a flagpole. And I'm like, oh, that's funny, but you just came up with that, didn't you? And it's like, yeah, isn't that good? Oh, okay.
The thing with him being married to his half-sister his half-sister, stepsister, and just the way that Jonah defends thing and always makes him worse. I never get enough. Like, people who don't like cringe comedy would definitely not enjoy this show.
No.
But man, it's some of the best cringe comedy. Watching him walk himself into a trap, not realize he's in a trap, and make things worse is amazing.
I'm just fascinated how they have so many like top tier comedians,
Right?
all like in kind of like minor roles just because they're so like they're all competing for a little bit of the time in this. The cast is huge.
Yeah.
It's such a monster ensemble comedic cast for a half-hour comedy.
I was trying to identify an actress, and I was like, oh, she's on Veep. Oh, wait, everybody's on Veep. Never mind.
Yeah.
They even squeeze in Rhea Seehorn this season.
Yeah, Ray Seahorn and Howard was in there somewhere. Or was he in previous season?
Who?
From Howard from Breaking Bad.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's in there too somewhere.
Oh, I just saw him pop up in something. Oh, Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just popped up in there too.
But
I was like,
and Patton Oswalt in like a pretty, I mean, it's a bigger role this time,
Right.
But his whole guy who molested Jonah and now claims to be chemically castrated and clearly isn't.
Diedrich Bader is there, and he's doing nothing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you just have Diedrich Bader just hanging out on stage. That's how many fucking people they have in here.
Yeah.
That they're not even making use of Diedrich Bader.
I really love the guy playing Ben, whose name I always forget about. Kevin Dunn.
Yeah.
Kevin Dunn's playing the sad sack. Like, this guy knows he's at the end of his political career. He knows that Selena's going to fuck him over.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of staying with it.
Kevin Dunn and Gary Cole and their
Gary
whole
Cole.
relationship with each other.
The joke came so quick, I think I might have missed it, but is Mike writing for BuzzFeed?
A BuzzFeed-esque site, yes.
But didn't he say BuzzFeed the print version? Like, it was so quick, and then they just kept insinuating to it. But I'm pretty sure he said, "Yeah, I write for BuzzFeed, the print version."
No, but he's their internet guy, is what.
But then
Selena
everybody
was saying,
kept.
like-
So that couldn't have been the joke. But I was like, that'd be a funny joke.
Yeah, and then
No,
Richard
not that BuzzFeed, the print version.
Yeah.
Richard Splett and Gary,
Yes.
and how they play these people who aren't necessarily self-absorbed.
Yeah.
They're just kind of caught up in this machine. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit refreshing to have them as well as her daughter and her daughter's
her daughter. I feel so bad for her daughter.
That's Kiefer Sutherland's daughter.
Is it really?
In real life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Also, I love Anna Chlumsky as Amy, and I love how she's just the constant target. She's the constant whipping boy for Selena.
Yeah.
And her whole runner of like, and she's also the whipping boy for Dan. Like, her whole thing of like, she keeps saying, "Well,
She's
I'm going to
sweet
keep the
D.
baby," and he's like, "Oh, that's great. Let me think about it." And she's like, "Oh, great. We're gonna do this," and it never goes that way.
I have a theory about that.
Yeah.
I bet because we're at episode 2 right now.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if we find out that all these times Dan has been saying, "I'm going to have sex with somebody," that there's nobody back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, because in the
Yeah.
past we normally see him with the ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a smokescreen.
I don't know. He did get Matt Walsh's boss fired by sleeping with her. So.
Oh, that is true. I also have another hope prediction for the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like, you know how like sometimes in TV you got the will they won't they, couples that you're just like you want to see them get together. I really want to see Selena, and I'm going to call him Buster, but why can't I think
Gary?
Selena and Gary have
Yeah.
sex?
Oh
but
my
like
God.
not a
But they did.
Wait,
Didn't they have sex? Like,
have they done that yet?
She like did never acknowledge it even happened. He was like, "Hey, did we?"
But no, I think it'd be really funny if she was just like in a moment of desperation had sex with him.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's also talk about Barry. It's back for its second season. I think this was one of our favorite shows last year.
Yeah,
A lot of us were really raving about it.
it was on a lot of lists.
And I think it just picks up right where it was, and it still has remained like pretty intense.
It's really good. Can I ask you guys, do you rank it above or below? Which one do you watch first, Barry or Veep?
Barry.
Really?
Barry's like one
Barry.
of the first things I
I
watched.
rank Veep above Barry.
Wait, actually, I did watch Veep before Barry this time.
I really like Barry.
I mean, Abby's first, of course.
Of course, of course. I didn't fall in love with Barry as everybody else did.
I
I really
still
like it.
haven't
It's
finished
really
season one.
good.
Yeah. Well, I feel like what's so strong about Barry is, I mean,
Henry
same for every
Winkler.
show. Well, all the supporting characters, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Bill Hader and Henry Winkler are just like knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
But I really love like all the gangsters. And,
No-ho Hank.
Yeah, and now they bring in like the Burmese mafia this season, and I think those guys are really funny too. Like, but everybody's playing it super serious, and like lives are on the line, and actions have consequences, which is something else that I feel like really grounds the show for me. Is it's able to be funny, but then these deaths mean something, and they all domino into the next thing.
Do you guys think the acting class is a weak point? Because I like the lead actress who's sort of his love interest is, I feel like, not that interesting a character, and Darcy Carden, who I love on Good Place, and I think it's a Kirby Howell-Baptiste, who I also love on Good Place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of them are great here.
You didn't like her joke about I'll never play an Australian.
It was all right. I just feel like those characters, they don't give them a lot to do.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, I guess I agree. It's not the most riveting part of the show,
Yeah.
but it does feel like it's the heart of the show. It's needed.
Yeah, it is needed. I just feel like
for
they should
Barry and his arc.
I feel like they should punch that up for a little bit for them. Like give them a little bit more to do, or make them more interesting in some way, or just have them be nothing. Like we'll go one way or the other. But I feel like right now, anytime we get spent on them is kind of a waste.
Well, it feels like it's always a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke at how terrible
All of them
actors
are?
are
Yeah,
in
yeah.
an acting class. It's just they're all bad actors.
Well, when Barry's doing his reenactment of his first time he killed, and they're doing the most over the top, oh my god, I killed a guy. That was cracking me up. That
Yeah.
was actually really good.
And how they juxtapose that with
Yeah.
what actually went down,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
him being celebrated, and he doesn't know how he feels about it.
Yeah.
If it's not the acting class, that's the ranch in the, now back at the ranch. I really like that store that Barry is working in.
I did too. I
this
like that
season.
too.
That's actually where the bras came from in the title.
Right,
Because he
right.
sells the purple bras at the sports store.
Yeah.
yeah.
I shoehorned that in so hard.
But I think Stephen Root's character turning on Barry is going to be interesting, because of course he would.
Yeah. When you guys saw that scene, were you like, "Oh, he's totally wired"?
No, but it made perfect sense.
Yeah, I figured he was as soon as he was out in the open and trying to talk to him about that, and I was like, "Mm-mm."
Also, I love how sort of clueless and guileless the cops are. The new partner, and how joyful she is in this
Earnest.
weird. Yeah, it's so funny to me.
It feels like a character out of Fargo.
Yes, out of 100%. Yes.
Yeah. And then let's jump over and talk about Billions then, guys.
Billions on season 3.
on
And-
deck.
and
Season
by-
4, actually.
Holy shit.
So for Veep, I've seen about the same number of Veep episodes as I've seen Game of Thrones. For Barry, I didn't finish season 1. I've been assured that it's spectacular, but it didn't grab me. All of these are on HBO. Is that right?
yes.
Billions is Showtime, though.
Billions is Showtime, but I mean, none of us have watched Billions, so that's why I wanted to stop here, except for Kyle. Something about HBO shows I don't want to sit down and watch half the time.
But you love
Like-
Westworld, right?
Yes, but all of them have Westworld is worth the okay, we're going to sit down and watch an HBO show. It's going to be very prestigious, or in the case of Veep, I think it was just way too much cringe comedy.
Yeah, it is.
I just there's a there's a shitty people being shittier that takes a real narrow window with me.
Yeah, Armando Iannucci makes Larry David look like Mike Schur.
Yeah, and I didn't like Curb Your Enthusiasm either.
Yeah.
So yeah, both of those are like honestly, Selena should take the Game of Thrones, the Iron Throne or whatever it is.
Oh my god, I'd watch that. I'd watch the hell out of that.
That's just based on knowing absolutely nothing about both shows at about the same level.
But she can't because they're all so utterly inept.
Yeah.
At everything.
It would be
they
amazing.
do.
Like Selena Meyer's team in the world of Game of Thrones that like they fail upward.
Yeah.
Like Cersei would be just like, oh, just protect them. They're going to be my stalking horses.
Well, as I understand it, the Lannisters definitely would have had like a mess of legs by now, right?
Oh yeah, that's just what I have a mess of legs.
Blonde mess of legs.
Yeah. They're trying to follow the Targaryen route, but
Yeah,
those
working.
people were made for inbreeding.
yeah.
If I was going to pick one to try to binge through, Game of Thrones, Veep, or Barry?
Game of Thrones.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Knowing that I have actually seen The Lord of the Rings. Still Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you get to
I went
season one
in person to a
finale,
Ring Fair last year, and I should still see Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you should wear that costume.
if you just binge the first season and you can get to the season one finale, I think it'll hook you.
Just
How
halfway
long
through.
until something
I mean, it might hook you
dragonish
sooner,
happens or something magical happens?
There's a
Oh,
reason
don't hold your breath
the
on that.
entire world, both like
So it's
hardcore
just people
critics
trudging around in
and
the mud?
regular people love this show.
It's
dude.
just like politics in the. I mean, how long until something magical happens and it's not just politics in the mud?
magical. There's
Season
actual
1.
dragons at the very end.
season
of
one.
season one?
End of season one.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
But there's zombies like in the fourth episode or something.
That's true.
right?
okay.
Zombies
yeah,
in
in
the
the
first episode.
the
really.
first episode, yeah. It starts with a big zombie
Yeah, it
kill.
starts with a zombie.
Yeah, dude. What do you need?
Does it?
Yeah, remember
Yeah,
all
it
the
does.
dead bodies in the very beginning?
It all just looked like a Python thing, man. I don't know.
You know what? I had to
That
watch the
first
first
episode
episode
is-
twice too.
It's bad.
So the real answer though is Barry, because Barry's only one season. You could easily binge that.
Awesome.
You could binge that today.
I also-
knowing the way you watch shows, you
Yeah.
could binge that before we're finished with this podcast.
I think it got better towards the end of the season too. That season one.
Okay.
So I think that you definitely enjoy if you weren't
I'm going to
digging
skip the first few episodes and not rewatch those then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and try it again.
Yeah.
In conclusion, that's how we feel about Billions.
Yeah. no.
Sorry to take up time. I was just like, wow, this is the first time in a long time where I've not watched any of the shit y'all are watching.
Yeah. Let's talk about Billions.
Yeah,
Kyle?
no, just real quick. I got a small list. Billions comes back for season 4. At the end of season 3, things were really kind of tore up as Axe had his protege Taylor take off and kind of, season 3 spoilers. But Axe's protege Taylor took off, kind of leaving Axe in a hard spot and then starting his own business to be equally as successful.
Their own business, right?
Yeah, sorry, their own business. Oh, I'm awful at this.
Well, Taylor is one of the few predominantly non-binary actors and non-binary characters in TV,
Yes.
which is fascinating.
And we had this season we get to meet Taylor's father, and obviously they play this to where Taylor's father is really bad with pronouns,
Okay.
and there's a great line.
It's relatable.
Yeah, but no, there's a great line where he says, "Just because I'm bad with the pronouns doesn't mean I'm stupid, or doesn't mean I don't." Have the money or this. And it got me thinking that Axe would be the best at the pronouns out of anybody.
He is. He's the one who pushes on it the whole time.
Yeah, but I think that comes because he's the best with the numbers too.
Yeah.
And in this season, you definitely get some more examples about how Bobby Axelrod, the main guy in this show, the Robin Hood, you would say in this Robin Hood scenario, he's not just this rich guy who can talk the talk, but he also knows the math and is really smart. And we get to see them go toe to toe. But what's more interesting, end of last season, Chuck was outed of his political office, so we get to see him flat on his ass at the beginning of the seaon.
Don't they make
Try
an
to claw his back up.
alliance?
And yes, the golden tuna. We finally, thank you, sir. Thank you. No, we finally get to see Axe and Chuck team up. Like Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham are now on the same team.
Yeah.
And this
You
whole
were saying
season,
Axe and Chuck. not
Axe and
Action Chuck. Right.
Action Chuck.
I was like, finally this season we get to see Action Chuck.
I actually have a Spotify playlist called Axe versus Chuck Fight Night playlist. But no, we get to see them team up because it's really their proteges, these people they brought up in Chuck's office. It's Sacker and Connor T. And then we just talked about Taylor a moment ago. But not only do we get to see kind of their proteges kind of take over and try to call the shots, but the same tricks don't work anymore because they taught their proteges their old tricks. So they're kind of matched wit for wit. And Chuck has, I'm not going to spoil it, but Chuck has to kind of go over the top and do something we've never seen him do like publicly in the show.
Action Chuck.
Yeah.
A little bit of public BDSM.
You are kind of beating around the edges there. Yeah.
Yeah. He has to wear a ball gag in public or some shit.
But no, it is it is really good where they take the show. And yeah, this is for something that seemed like they kind of touched all the spots and everything, you really get to see kind of Chuck go from nothing to claw his way back up. And Axe really, they defined him, what is it? American oligarch. Yeah. Kind of go full American oligarch in this season. No, it's a lot of fun. I know these guys are kind of turned off because, it's bad people doing bad things. But I find it to be this interesting morality experiment where you're constantly asking yourself, like, oh, who do I side with? Is he in the right? Is he in the wrong?
To me, the premise of that show sounds like it fits on Showtime as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've not watched Billions because, if about half the time my HBO logs out because it's borrowed, I never have a Showtime logged in at the ready that's on my Roku. But Showtime's brand, when I have watched it, is kind of like a We Can Swear Grown Up USA.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
That is, Dexter always felt, well, I guess because of the Florida thing, but always felt like a USA show to me.
Like it's got a Silk Stockings kind of.
Yeah, We Can Swear We Can Swear USA Network is maybe the best Showtime I've ever heard. That's fantastic.
And so Billions just sounds like it could be like just like Montgomery Burns tinted fingers delicious.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first season of Billions much more than I thought I would. In large part because the performances, because the actors are so good. But yeah, it's a premise that doesn't hold interest. And I can't imagine 4 seasons holding my interest. But
yeah, that is one thing that I think I take for granted just because I've been watching the show so much. But these guys deliver this dialogue like it's Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's like lots of profanity and, they may be talking about like complex like finance or whatever. But the show does a really good job in kind of keeping it all grounded. I would highly recommend it.
I think I mixed up Succession with this.
Oh, yeah, Succession's terrible.
But Succession was the Brian Cox and one of the
thing on HBO.
Was it bad? I heard a lot of people really liked it.
I fucking hated that show so much.
Oh.
There was it seemed like there was a space with Dynasty reboot and then these, like it seemed like every channel was trying to do their own tone.
Let's elevate the 1% again.
Of a 1% drama. And it just wasn't working for me as well these last couple of years.
Yeah, I want to see a guillotine. That's the show I want to see.
Well, hey guys, before we close out the show, I did want to run a question by you. We got a listener question I want to give a little mention to. And this one comes from Bolton Smith, who says, because of the old days of audio-only mobile devices, I became very comfortable with listening to television shows. Now I can only enjoy the audio of shows like Seinfeld or the old episodes of South Park. I even feel like Veep could maybe be put in the category of audio only. Are there any shows that you can experience just the audio? Are there any that you prefer with just audio?
I don't have any that I prefer with just audio.
Yeah, I do have shows that I will background watch.
Yes,
where I'm
that's
doing
the closest
something else.
I can.
Yeah.
Well, obvious answer is talk shows, but this immediately makes me think of that new Jason Momoa show that's going to be on the Apple streaming service, where it's a world where everyone's blind. And I'm like, how are they going to show that? Just a bunch of people walking around feeling stuff?
Just a black screen in a lot of places.
He teased it at the Apple announcement, so it sounded like they may be playing with I don't know, different type ways of like sensory.
It's just going to be like a prank reality show where just innocent people are standing around and Momoa comes like screaming out of frame and tackles them, like all the sneak up photos of Momoa.
Yes, yeah.
I did back when I worked in a cubicle. I remember there was this website that would upload all these shows just in audio format. So it was just strip the audio and put it up there. And I had watched Arrested Development so many times that I was able to just go ahead and click play on one of the audio things, and I could visualize the entire episode. I knew all the beats, I knew all the jokes, and I was able to just like work on my project and listen to episodes like I was watching it. And I was like, this is actually kind of great.
Interesting.
But I think it only works because I had watched the show previously like so many times.
Yeah, to me, I love a good audio drama, but I can't imagine watching a TV show as an audio drama. That's weird to me.
I have the opposite thing happen on The Office for me, the U.S. Office.
Yeah.
It was right after my divorce, just a really crap time, and my roommates were like binge watching their way through just over and over watching The Office. Like that was just while waiting on anything else to drop. They would just rewatch an Office episode.
Right.
And so like falling asleep on the couch and just being sad and depressed and all the time. I just had this like horrible time in my life with this in and out kind of ghost dreamy Office theme and Office music so like anytime I hear it, it's just an immediate like
Oh no.
so like even when I rewatch The Office now, I just like skip intro. I don't like and everybody I know loves that theme song, like, oh, it's The Office.
But it's kind of like a sad theme song.
It sounds so melancholy and sad to me now.
Yeah.
And I just always assumed it's because of like where I was in my life when I heard it over and over and over and over, and I hadn't watched the show at the time.
Yeah.
So like it was years before I had a moment where they were getting me to watch it, and I was like, guys, if you don't want me to like really hate this show, we should stop showing me comedy right now.
Yeah.
And I waited like 2 years and went back and watched The Office and loved it.
Yeah.
But
Well, you know what else you would love if you went and watched it?
Veep.
Game of Thrones.
No.
Guess what we're doing next week, folks?
We're doing less Game of Thrones. No.
I cannot wait.
It is back. I don't know if this is going to be one of the, I mean, we don't really do the weekly anymore, but it is one that we're going to have to be checking in on a lot
Yeah.
in the upcoming weeks. But we will be talking about the premiere episode of the final season next week, so I hope you guys are all ready. You've chosen your team.
Yep.
And we're gonna go ahead and check it out and discuss it next week.
Yeah, I'm Team Mystic. Wait, is that a different? That's a different thing.
Is that a Pokemon thing?
Yes.
Did I actually know that?
Yeah, you did.
Because either that or Overwatch.
I should have said Hufflepuff.
You know, you have like two things. It's Overwatch.
Hufflepuff is Overwatch.
Hufflepuff is Overwatch.
Okay,
All the Overwatches are Hufflepuffs.
I got it.
But not all Hufflepuffs are Overwatch.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Les and Kyle and Randy.
Thank you, Grant.
Thank you, Grant.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear listeners, and thank you, patrons. Hey, hold up. Do we have a patron? Did you guys announce the patron?
I believe we did.
Patron?
We did last time. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give him a shout out again because
Double shout out.
I
for
put
a
it in my
patron?
notes. Dog it with an exclamation point. Dog it! Dog it joined our Patreon, and you guys can too. Go to patreon.com/tvdudes and make a per episode pledge. Give us $1 or $2 an episode if you like what you're hearing. And occasionally we throw up a little bonus exclusive thing where we will talk about
Mostly the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Marvel Cinematic Universe or Wikipedia Roulette or whatever we want to do that week. We appreciate all of your support, and we will be back next week. Until then,
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.